Hello and welcome to the Bold Black Girls podcast. I'm Aries.
And I am Kim.
And look at what we're doing. We are together.
Broken Bow, Oklahoma.
Yes.
Real butter.
They don't know nothing about that. They don't know nothing about that. So as you can see, this is not a green screen if you're on our YouTube channel.
It's actually real green.
It is real greenery. We have gone away on a mini vacay, not even a staycay, I guess it's a vacay.
Yeah.
We're a couple hours out of Dallas in Oklahoma, Broken Bow, the cabins. It's a little different cabin trip than we usually do.
It is.
Right?
So the first cabin trip that we took,
was that our first time doing something?
I feel like it was.
Traveling together?
It was. Because you know what? You hit us up, you hit the village up, and you're like, hey, we can get this cabin. Y'all want to go in or what? That's how you know when you test friends. When it comes, no, seriously,
you pulling that money together.
You gonna show me who you are when that money comes into play, right? And not that it's about money, but it's about trust. Because we talked about this, the whole trust. Can I trust you with my money?
Because Kim was like, because when we had to get this cabin and other things that we've done, where I sent you money when we were about to go to Afrotag. It was the money that we've been exchanging is some hefty funds. It's not just like, oh, here's $50.
Yeah.
It's like 500, 700. So we're getting in that. I said we go together. I'm like, you're my boo now.
We have a partnership.
Exactly. So that must have been
no
like
entanglements.
No entanglements. 2014, I think.
It was. I think it was like October.
It was something.
No,
yeah.
It was October 2014
or 15. One of those. And we and a group of friends. So we were part of this other group a large group of people, and they were doing a cabin trip. And so somebody felt like their cabin, something happened, they couldn't do it anymore. So they were like, we got this cabin available. I was like, let me hit the village up real quick and see if they want to just do this. This might be interesting.
Right.
It was my first time coming then.
It was mine too.
So then everybody was like, I'm down. We calculated how much it would be. And then
folks sent their money, right?
The money to me.
Yep. That was trust.
That was the first time. And then it was a great time. We had a blast.
We had a freaking blast. It was like cabin hopping. That's how we met one of our podcast guests, Alicia.
Oh, that is how we met Alicia Woodall, the therapist.
Yes, here at the cabins.
Yeah. So now on this trip, and I've been we came back again.
We came back again.
Did we bring Rochelle with us one time?
Yes, and Carolyn.
Yeah,
and Chris.
And Carolyn. And he was there the first time too.
Right.
And then I came back with some other friends. Like I've been
back
few times since. But this time we brought our family.
And tell me about the name of the cabin. So the first cabin was Serendipity. And at that time, I don't know if I even knew what that name meant.
Well, you kind of had this thing with Serendipity before that. And it just so happened that was the name of the cabin. He was like, that word has been like following me.
Even when we went to
Oakland. Because you had looked up cabins at one point before this ever happened. Remember you said, and it was the same cabin that you saw?
The exact cabin.
It was so weird. I was like, Serendipity is the same
And there was Serendipity.
So we stayed there twice.
Yes.
And this is a new cabin that we're saying is really
the Lazy
nice.
Lounge.
Lazy Lounge, which is just about right for what I needed it to be.
It's perfect for what I need.
So this week is LJ and Marvin's birthday, and it's our anniversary for the podcast. So it was the perfect family.
And I didn't even realize it. All of it was intertwined.
I had to go back and I looked at the episodes, and I was like, July 24th, we launched our first episode last year. So it's just a trip how fast that time went. It seemed like it went so fast.
I mean, well, we're almost into August.
We are in August. 2020 is gone, y'all. It has came and just bulldozed us down, didn't it?
It's not over yet, though.
It's not. But I wanted to kind of reflect on and go back for those who may be just now joining the podcast and haven't gone back and listened to old episodes and all that. So much has changed since last year.
So much.
We've changed
personally, professionally.
Yes. Everything.
We've grown spiritually.
Grown majorly spiritually.
I think we're more so in a state of flow, not forcing anything.
Yeah.
Not ponytails, friendships.
For real, because right now this hair is.
Oh, I'm in my natural state.
We're in our natural
state.
YouTube, I need you to just check my what they call a length check.
Check your length.
I got shrinkage.
This girl is draping.
But when I tell you this hair is long,
it has a lot.
It is really grown. It's grown with me.
And I like how you've been rocking your natural. You always natural. Well,
I usually would have like the faux locks or something because it's just easier. But you know, that old COVID had me scared for a while. Everybody been going to get their hair done, so now I'm like, do I just put a mask on?
And you've been doing your nails?
Oh my gosh, look at y'all can't.
She's been doing her gel nails.
Can't buy with these nails yet. Y'all can't see, but these nails are.
They're really nice.
A professional now.
And actually, this is our first time physically recording since March. Whoa.
I know. I was like, I miss the chemistry that we have. It's just not the same.
It's not.
Zoom,
I mean, it's easier for me because I'm at home.
Right.
But it's still not the same. Like, we will be in there listening. Where is our music?
I know. Your thing is back there. We might have to record another one before we leave.
I know. We should.
For next week.
Yes.
But I want to go back a little bit on why we created this podcast in the first place and kind of the state we were in at that time. It was, and maybe you could talk to it because I don't know if I ever really asked you like what made you agree. So y'all gonna hear nature in the background because we are out in the woods.
No cat calling. It's really
we're in the woods,
right? The sticks.
I have been dealing with some work issues and drama for pretty much. Okay, for real, that thing is so loud back there. I have been dealing with some work drama, and I really started to realize that it was not an isolated incident. It was a thing that
targeted.
It was just things that were happening specifically to Black women in the workplace. And so I'm a part of the Women in Tech group, the board, and oh my God, it's like, do they know we're recording? And
they know.
They decided
it's their time.
But anyway, so noticed that there was some issues, going on specifically with Black women in the workplace, learned about intersectionality and these terminology to explain kind of what I was dealing with and not knowing that it was something happening to a lot of women. And so over time, I was like, we should put a panel together with some Black women professionals. And Kim was a part of my committee. She helped put it together and coordinate these speakers. It's about to start right now. And we put this panel together, found a bunch of women who felt the same way and decided to talk about their stories. So we put the panel together, and so many people were like, oh my God, we need another way to talk about this. And I didn't realize that many Black women were going to really be affected by what we were doing. But we didn't have a vehicle to really have another event or get more in depth or all of that. So I was like, we're just throwing stuff around. Yeah.
And you came up with the idea like, let's start a podcast. That was a great platform for us to talk about it because I was kind of going through something myself. I felt like I was going through a shift. I was dealing with some things at a job that I had been with all of my life, right, ever since I really got out of high school. And although I was progressing, I wasn't progressing like other counterparts who I come into the corporation with. And I attribute that to the color of my skin or just because I'm a Black woman. And it's also it was about exposure, experience, and opportunity. I mean, you can get the experience and the exposure, but without someone actually giving you an opportunity to really say, okay, I think Kim will be great for this leadership role. Mm-hmm. I'm going to sponsor her. Right. There's a lack of sponsorship. And so I knew that, okay, my daughter has just graduated high school a couple of years ago. I can take a bigger risk in life. And I think I was at that point where I was like, okay, what can I lose by either joining a podcast? Because I felt this shift. Yeah. And when you said that, I was like, you know what? Although I was hesitant to do it because I really don't like this video, she likes it. I was like, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to take the risk and I'm just going to say yes. It's
you
like
really
that
did,
Shonda Rhimes book, The Year of Yes. Right? But then it was the year of no because it was like I have to say no to some things so I can say yes to others.
Yeah, I was so happy that you said yes though, because I was like, this would be so perfect.
And I was surprised she asked me. I'm like, Aries has, okay, both of us have a lot of friends, right? Let's be real. Don't.
Yes.
Right? And so when she asked me, I was like, I'm honored that she would even ask.
Oh,
so I was like, sure. And then I feel like because of that, we both have evolved.
Yes.
In so many areas. And we were already on a journey. Little did we know serendipity would bring us here.
Yes.
So it's like, to be honest with you, it's full circle.
It really did. And I think I knew you had the personality. We had the chemistry as friends anyways, because we'd be running these streets together and we'll be at networking events, you know, here and there, and they always be like, y'all, I don't know, they probably got
where's Aries if you weren't there and I was there, right?
And so it was like, let's take this show on the road.
And it's like, you know, you have to have a good balance. It goes back to chemistry. One is not trying to necessarily overtalk or, I want to be in the front or I want to be in the back. I'm good with where I'm at. You're good with where you're at. You have your strengths. I have my strengths. Yeah. And we just brought it together and it worked well together.
Yeah. And it's just like the reception of it was really awesome. You know, when we did our first live event, I think we only had like 10 episodes under our belt.
Well, yeah.
And then Minda Hearts was our first.
Shout out to Minda, who's actually doing great things.
She rocking and rolling. She had that book coming out, and she was our first guest.
She was our first guest.
And we did it at a live event. We had 100 people come out to support us, which I was like, whoa.
It was amazing. Another full circle moment. You don't know who you're going to meet, who you may interact. It is a young lady that attended. She was from out of town. She works where I work. Little did I know I would be working there, and we talk to each other on a regular basis.
At the new job.
See? And I didn't even reach out to her for like a referral or anything, which I'm sure she would have. But it's like, you never know who you're going to come in contact with, where it's another full circle moment.
You don't know at all, which is a part of kind of what I went through last year with, you know, at the point at which we started the podcast or even talked about the idea. I think I had been 6 months unemployed from the drama job. And I had been working really hard with the nonprofit organization to really keep busy and kind of just continue to grow my skills, my leadership skills, and do things that I felt passionate about. Like, I really wasn't even looking for a job until after we started the podcast. Like, I was like, hey, I could do this thing. It's working for me. You know, like God was just providing for me. And I was going through a spiritual journey of just growing closer to God at that time. And like my trust, we talked about trust. My trust had to grow in Him for everything to really.
And I watched you during that whole journey. Like, I had people coming to me like, Aries is unemployed. I would have never known. And the way you handled it, like, you gave your testimony to people, to people who were struggling, and you were still helping others, even when you yourself didn't have a job.
It was people who became unemployed at the same time that I was unemployed, and then I would help them get a job. Right? Or help them to the point at which they got a job. And, you know, like, they'll call me like, how do I stay positive, like, right now? You know, and I'll just give them encouragement, you know, and just be like, trouble don't last always. Like, it's not going to be like that all the time. But it's depressing, you know, going through a loss. This wasn't my first time at the rodeo. So I had to learn that after a process myself. But for me, it was more like leaning into trusting God and not worried about the resource that He was using to provide for me, and knowing that He was the one who was my ultimate provider. So however He get the money to me, it don't matter. That's His business.
Exactly.
Because He was making it happen. Like, my mortgage was getting paid. My bills were paid. Me and my kids never went hungry.
Kids didn't even,
They barely knew.
They didn't miss a beat.
I was talking to them about it throughout the process, because I feel like as a parent, that's my responsibility to share with them, so they can also learn to trust God through my experience with God, and them seeing like, wow, my mom went through this, and now they'll have a story in their head about, wow, God really blessed them, because we was praying for just provision and thanking God for, you know, a roof over our head and all the things. So once I did get a job, it's like we're able to celebrate together what God had done. You know, we watched that together as a process. And so I just feel like as you give and try to do something like this was something that we're like, clearly there's people who enjoy this. I mean, we're seeing it by people who we can see how many people listening, you know, to each episode.
Data.
I'm like, people listening. So, and really just share our journey. It wasn't like we were coming in as experts trying to provide, you know, tell anybody what to do. But it was like, hey, this is what we were doing and what works for us.
Right.
You know.
And like I said, I watched you on that journey, and you stayed strong and steadfast. You didn't even. There were opportunities where you could have taken any job you wanted to, but you said, you know what? No, that's not the one for me.
Because I have been through this thing before with just taking any job or being like, oh, they paying this much, and it was like,
but that doesn't align to Aries' values and what she needs.
I gotta feel good about it. I was like, I'm not going to be desperate. I'm going to pick the right place with the right culture that I can thrive and be healthy mentally. Because I was at the point where really I didn't even want a job because I could not mentally. It was too much. I'm like, I just can't right now. I knew what I could and could not handle, and I could not handle dealing with those microaggressions and all that stuff no more. I just couldn't do it. And so a lady that through networking and being a part of something else where I was giving my time freely and for free. But passionately, because I care about women in, you know, getting into more leadership roles. I care about, you know, Black women thriving. I'm very passionate about just, you know, those of us who have been really underserved and under-resourced, and learning that the things that I've learned over the time, I want to give that back to somebody else, because you don't know what you don't know. Right. You know, sometimes you just don't know. We did the Black Women's Equal Pay Day thing with Jacqueline Twillie.
That was good.
So much I learned just through researching to have that event about where we're at, and teaching negotiation, you know, to people who have said, I never negotiated before.
Right.
So it was just a lot of stuff that came from this. And so when did December, I got offered a new role.
You sure did. It was before the new year.
Yep. And it was like right at the same time that I got laid off of the last job, though.
It was almost exactly a year, if not a year. Yeah. And I just feel like this has equipped us for us where we are now.
Yeah. Because now it's like I have never been this much myself at a job. Because that was a part of the agreement. You know, we talked about code switching way early on. I don't code switch at work.
I don't either.
Anymore. Like, I'm professional, right, but I don't code switch. They know I'm just like this at work. You know, my hair is twisted. I do what I.
And even now, more so, like, since we're virtually, like, they really can see into your house, and depending on where your position, yes, and what's going on, and like some days it just depends. You know, you might get a background in my office, but you might get a background in the backyard. You might get this Bold Black Girls t-shirt
exactly
on the background too.
Look, somebody tied me into Zoom. When I go into Zoom calls,
oh yeah,
any Zoom call that is a professional, it doesn't matter what it is, because it comes in as Bold Black Girls, and then our picture from the podcast is in there. So I'll be like, let me change my name so y'all know what. They'll be like, Bold Black Girls. I'm like, you see the black girl right here. That is I. So now I got coworkers that listen to my podcast. Like, I mean, literally my first couple days at the job, I had somebody like, you have a podcast? Like, I want to, like, help me, because we're starting a podcast at the company. Like, they wanted tips about that. And it's just a trip. It's like all the things that, what did it say? The Bible says your gift will make room for you.
Yes, it will.
These are things that God gifted me with, this personality, you know, things that I had to really learn to just love, because I'm like, it's a part of loving yourself.
Right. They said Oprah talks too much, and look at her.
Exactly. I got in trouble for talking too much in class all the time in school.
Wow.
But now look at me. No.
And our mothers are here, right?
I get paid to talk.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, so now we got our moms here. I have the boys. She has Kiera here. And it's been so fun.
It really has. And it's so funny, because the first trip that we took with the cabins, we left our kids at home. As a matter of fact, Kiara watched her kids. So we had gone another time, and she was like, I really want to go to these cabins. And so when you were like, let's go to the cabins and celebrate the boys for their birthday, I'm like, this is perfect. And Kiara did not want to see the picture. She was like, look, I just want to be surprised. She wanted to be surprised. She was like, I love this.
Even though they saw the picture, it was still that moment of like, they walked in like, oh my God. You know, like on the Real World when they used to go into the new house.
Yes.
Running upstairs and jumping on stuff and all that. So that, as a parent, you know, I'm like, mission accomplished.
Right?
Because I didn't spend money before, and then they'd be like, oh, no, I didn't. Like, they weren't all, I wanted a certain reaction. You know how you do something, you think the person's going to be all excited. I was like, I'm not setting my expectations.
Even though, you know, the Wi-Fi is not the best.
It's not.
Cable, I don't even know if the cable is on.
I ain't been watching
TV. We haven't watched television. It has been a great experience just to disconnect. I mean, we're in the woods. We're probably going to go for a hike later.
Yeah.
Just being creative.
Yes.
Just flowing.
And then you got a new job this year as well.
I did. So I left, a company after 19 years. Decided to take that leap. Leading up to that, in my mind, I said, I know when my daughter graduates, I'm going to do something else, right? But fear had set in. And you was like, oh, you know, I got that pension and I'm going to leave and walk away from this. Like, I really had to sit and think about that. Then one day I said, you know what? I think I told somebody else, I'm going to wait till I turn 20 years. It was like, well, what's the significance of 20 years? And I had to really sit there and think about that. Like,
just a number.
Yeah. And I was like, there is no significance. So why are you sitting here waiting? And I mustered up the courage, you know, prayer, asking God, hey, direct my path. And I knew, kind of like you, specifically, I didn't want to go anywhere. Like, because I was already in a decent situation. So it had to be better than where I'm at now, right?
Yeah.
And it had to be for a purpose that I feel like he put me in this role or this position. One, they needed the diversity, right? And now they're starting programs, and I've been asked to come to the table to sit on a council meeting for diversity. So I've only been there, maybe 90 days. So like you, here I am ready to bring impact, and I'm sharing with other people, like, look, this is where I work. There aren't a lot of African Americans. However, they don't know about this company. They don't know that you can come in and do this type of role or go learn about this so you can work in this industry.
You're in position now to bring more people in.
Yes.
Same thing with my company. The place that I work now, not a lot of Black people, period. It just isn't. And it was something that obviously I noticed first from when I first was applying for the job. I was like, and the lady who had referred me is not Black. And so I was like, but she's so cool. Like, she's telling me, I'm like, I want to, like, this seemed like it's a good opportunity, but then God he sets things up so perfectly, because obviously with this coronavirus and stuff happening, and then the George Floyd situation, it opened the dialogue up for that conversation. And I was one of the first ones to be, asked to have that kind of conversation. And now we have a whole new diversity. We're not calling it ERG. It's just like and there's so many people that volunteer to be a part of it.
That is awesome.
And so now I'm actually about to be on a panel next month and it's not even about diversity. It's about balancing work-life balance or something like that. And so I was like, dang, I only been here 6 months and I'm already talking to the CEO, this person, that. Like, it's it's just like, it's like the thing that you always wanted, but never knew that it was ever going to actually happen. It's like, is this going to really happen? It probably won't happen.
And just even how these companies have responded to the social injustices, especially like with George Floyd. And you get to see, okay, how are they responding, not just publicly, right? But internally with your employees.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
That speaks volumes. And I can say that I'm glad to be where I'm at.
Yeah, me too.
So
I'm super glad to be where I'm at that point where I'm like, shoot, I'm just planning on moving around up in here. That's what I'm going to do.
Same.
I don't even want to, I can't even think about that right now, because I'm like, I never anticipated feeling this good at a job before, just because it had not been a reality for me, really, ever, to be honest. So I think with all of this going on, and now we're all at home, you started a job in the pandemic.
I did.
Working at home.
Haven't met my boss physically. Did training. Everything has been virtually.
Wow. So
right?
where's your...
My belongings are still at my old job. I still don't have my belongings.
I thought you went over there to get it.
They will not let anyone into the building.
Oh, okay.
So I still feel like a piece of me is still there because my belongings are there.
Okay.
So
well, a piece of you ain't there. Tell them to throw all that stuff away.
You know, someone say, "Hey, do you miss your job?" No, I don't.
That's why I don't leave stuff at work. I don't leave personal stuff.
The good thing is I had already because I felt that shift. I had already started packing.
I remember you did that.
So I had cleared my desk. I think I sent you some pictures like trash. Like sometimes you have to put the past in the trash.
Yeah.
So you can go forward.
Come on, somebody.
So I was just like, oh, don't need that. Why would I need that?
We're going forward and not backwards.
And so you can't look
the world down for this.
Ooh.
He shut the world down.
Shut it down. Like, I mean, if you're out here virtually dating, I commend you. I'm scared.
He shut the world down for everything. I feel like it was a detox. You know, this quarantine, it has been for me. It's been a detox of just really a time to reflect, time to look back. You know, like I said, we've been a year now in this. We're at this is like a mid-year check-in for just 2020.
And it's funny because it's a mid-year check-in for work too. If you think about it.
Exactly.
And I like to check in. My birthday's in June, so I always like to check in around that time because that's like the 6-month mark. And we talked about this on a podcast, just sitting in it. And for me, like, people think I'm extroverted. I'm not.
Yeah, I could definitely sit. I mean, I think this has proven that for me, that I am an extrovert.
She's been more quarantined than I have. Like,
I've not gone anywhere. Like,
not even to the grocery store.
I have gone to the grocery store. But at this point, I've mastered the grocery pickup and delivery. So why would I go in the store? For what?
Yeah.
I don't have no reason.
I'm like your Aunt Leela. I still like to pick out my own fruit. So what I do is I get up real early and I'm at the stores at like 6 a.m.
See, I don't do early.
Yeah.
So I think I've only really gone somewhere once, taking a risk.
Was it worth the risk?
It was worth it.
Okay.
I had a mask, but you know, probably not as much as I probably should have at that moment. But God protected me. So, but yeah, I think that I'm looking at this time very differently. I admit that I have a privilege, that I'm blessed to work from home and not have to do a lot of the things that some people do have to do for work. Right. To be out, like, kind of risking
their lives,
exposure and all that kind of stuff. So I commend everybody who was able to, you know, kind of do that. But I am blessed. I'm at a point now where
we're blessed to be here. We have the privilege, the resources to come out here and bring our families.
Yeah, I really wanted to expose my kids. I like to expose them to things. I feel like that is, for me, what drove me to want to do well in life, or knowing that there are options. There are things that, I could have something like this. Like, my sons, as soon as they got here, Marvin's like, how much money do I need to have to get this? He always does that. He'd be like, how much?
But I love that.
And I'm like, it ain't that much. I tell him, like, this one is for sale, by the way. Like,
I know.
It's not that expensive if you really think about it. And at this point, if you're thinking this way at 9, by the time you're 18, you could be ready, in position to get something like this. We need to stop limiting what God can do for us, because that's not what we have at the current time. I didn't have nothing close to this when I was his age. I wasn't even thinking this was a possibility. I had not even been exposed to anything like this before. I was 12 before I even seen like a 3-car garage. I didn't know nothing about it. I was like, what? Oh my God. That's what made me go to college. Seeing something that somebody might say is not that big of a deal. I was living in a 1-bedroom house with 5 people. So, and we were happy. I didn't really know we were poor. Everybody lived the same way, so it really didn't matter.
You didn't know a difference.
Yeah, like,
you don't know if you're in that environment. And that's why, you know, when people say, oh, well, people in the hood, they could do better. Well, sometimes they don't know that they can, and they don't have the exposure. And so similar to you, like, although I was brought up in the hood, I didn't know it. And where I live was nice, you know, compared to other people.
To where I live?
Well, I don't know how it looked where you live, but I mean, like my mom, she was gainfully employed. She was on a teacher, and my dad, but we never came out to the cabins. Now we went to Louisiana. It looks just like this, minus the nice, exquisite glamping. But like you, I'm like, I want to expose Kiara because each generation should get better.
Like my parents didn't travel. They weren't traveling, going out the country and all that. My grandmother on my dad's side actually used to travel a lot. I started seeing pictures of her going to Europe and going back home to her high school reunion, like just doing stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, dang, my Aunt Leela, she used to travel. So I had certain people in my family that did it, but not like my parents weren't doing that. My mom, I think she went to the Bahamas one time on a cruise with the church. But like that was the only trip I remember hearing from her, of going somewhere like that.
But same like with my parents, because they were older and they were from the South. Traveling was just, let's go back to our hometown, check on our people. Yeah. And they both had like property, and so they would go check on their house or whatever. But it wasn't like, let's go to Disney World. Let's go on a cruise. Yeah. And I was like, I want to take this a step further for my daughter so that she can see what the world offers,
My dad traveled when he was playing baseball, but that was like you were playing baseball. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like that was a occupational travel, I guess you would say. But not just for fun, not leisure.
Now I understand why other cultures do that to expose their children. Like I had a good friend, her name's Diana. She had a timeshare, so when I moved here, every year she'd take her kids somewhere. And where I'm from, you really didn't see that. Mm-hmm. People just saying, okay, we're going to go on vacation somewhere new every year. You're usually going to Bebe's house. And we're going to we're driving. Yeah. And we're going to all pile up in their house, in their extra bedroom or shift or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that was our vacation.
Yeah. So I think it's important just to try, even if you can get a little mini getaway, to just change the scenery. Like I have been at the house pretty much for the most part all these months, and I had the kids all day every day, and I'm transitioning into a full-time homeschool mom in probably a couple weeks.
God bless.
I withdrew them from public school officially.
So how was that process?
So now I am to withdraw them. Well, they ask you, we have to fill out an intent kind of thing every year anyway to say, are you re-enrolling the kids, or are you withdrawing them or whatever? And they were asking us about if you wanted them to homeschool, do online school versus in class. So I just said I'm not enrolling them, but I got to still write a letter to them just to say, letting you know officially that we're going to be withdrawn. So it's going to be a lot different for me this year, but I figured this is the best time to give it a try because I don't think they know what the hell they're doing. So either way, I feel like I could be I'm going to be the one having to teach them anyway, so it don't matter. But yeah, so much. I never would have decided to do homeschool voluntarily. So them putting that pressure on us earlier in spring gave me the confidence that I could be a great teacher to my kids. And if not, then I do have the resources to pay for a tutor, which I was already doing, and then I'm like, I would have to add him one more time a week and calculate that into my budget or whatever.
And I think like your boys are really good. So you have done an excellent job raising and rearing them. And I think we talked about this. I think there's a lack somewhere in our community of, not even our community, the generation.
The generations. Yes.
They're not being raised. And you have done an excellent job. Like we're here, right? It's not many people I can travel with children. Maybe like you and Mona, because you all trust me, where I can say things to your kids, right?
You can say my kids anything.
Goes back to trust, but it also it takes a village.
It takes a village
to raise your children. So you have to build that village with people you trust, so that they can help you with your kids. Like if your kids need homework help, you can call Kiara. I will come over there and help them.
True. So
I think the way you've raised them, the village you have, they will be fine and you will be fine.
I think so as well. I mean, God is good. It's amazing how much a difference a year can make in just mentality. I feel like I've definitely grown spiritually, like I said, about just going through that experience and really having to lean on God and put my weight on him because there was no other option. It changed my mindset on a lot of things, just in how I approach the world and how I live now. It's like, okay, I'm like, Lord, if this ain't
For
if
me.
you're not in this,
Yep, I don't want it.
Get it away
Same
from me
here.
right away, you know. So that's, and I mean that like so hard, because you up here trying to make your own story up, and it's like, he like, I got this. Would you let me do?
Don't force it.
Let me do me.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm doing that in every aspect with my my kids as well. You know, just like how to raise them. You know, I don't know. I'm not doing it the same way that my parents did it. Not that they did it wrong. They did it the best way they knew how at the time.
Exactly.
And the fact that I'm knowing better, or knowing a different way to do something, a different approach, because they don't agree with some of the stuff that I do with them. But in the end, they end up saying, oh, I'm so glad you did that, because
Makes sense.
they see what the different result is. Because if you only go off of, think about it, they go off of what their parents did with them.
Exactly.
My parents did it this way, so we doing it that way. And then they want you to do the same thing.
That's not a growth mindset either.
I'm really good on putting boundaries around people when it comes to my kids. It's like, okay, thank you for your input, but we got a way that we do things over here. Yeah.
Same here. Yep. Same here. Because going back to your homeschool, like, Kiara didn't go off to a traditional college. Well, she's in a traditional college, but she didn't go off
away to like a 4-year thing.
Yes. And there were people who were like, well, I think she needs to do this. Well, those are your thoughts, and that's fine. These are about finances, right? And I don't want my child to be in bondage with student loans. So we went a different route. And just because you go to this school or that school, which may or may not have taught you negotiation skills to be paid appropriately, right? And so now we're in bondage with student loans, and we can't live life.
And she got her job, she got her school, she's learning responsibility, she's learning even more life skills at this point. Right. She didn't cook the food while we've been up here.
She is cooked. Right.
She didn't cook dinner yesterday. She cooked breakfast. I was like, look, girl, you're going to be a good little old roommate to be with. I'm like, I'm about to make her, she going to come, I'm about to pay her to come.
You want her to?
She sure can come.
Wait a minute, because I told her, I said, look, Kiara, this might be your opportunity to pivot. And I told her, like, I'm here to support you. And it goes back to people who are, if I would have listened to what everybody else had told me, oh, well, you need to take out a loan. No, to be more further in debt and not knowing if she'll graduate and have a job where she can pay it. Because now look at the pandemic.
Yes.
They're laying off people right now.
Yes.
Kids are not even, may or may not be going back to college.
Yes.
And if they do, they still want their money.
Exactly.
And she's going to have the same similar degree.
Yeah.
She has the same. It's about opportunity, experience, and exposure. Yes. It's not necessarily where you went to school. It's what you do with it.
And guess what? And we're in a position now where, what if your job has internships?
Or your job. Exactly.
We're in positions where we could start
having
navigating
influence.
Just like everybody else does for their kids. For our kids, and we need to do that as a community. Like, I was thinking about that too. I was like, we need to start figuring out, because I'm a person who people hit me up all the time that need jobs. I don't know why they think I'm a recruiter, but it's mostly because I want to help people. Yep. I want to help. I know what it's like to go be unemployed and looking for work and want somebody to refer you, or put in a good word. So if somebody I know is looking, and I know, even if I don't even know any roles, I just be like, send me your resume, because something will pop up, and time is up. Yes,
because she's really the true connector.
I'm like, I got somebody who just did a phone screen at my job. I'll tell you who it was. But yeah, so I'm hoping she gets it. But I went back to the recruiters after I did the referral, checking in on the status of the resumes. Like, have you looked at this person? What's the status? If they did, what was the issue? Because I want to be able to communicate that.
Follow up.
Yeah, so that we could improve and get better and do something different if it was, something else. So
similar.
I don't know. I just feel like giving is like the best way to really heal yourself. Like,
giving in gratitude.
Being able to say those words to people who were unemployed at those times to motivate them, encourage them, and do that. It helped me. I was saying it to myself at the same time as I'm saying it to them.
Right.
I'm saying it to myself.
Encourage yourself, what they say.
Exactly.
Encourage yourself. So it's, I just feel like
and that's kind of what this podcast really is.
Full circle. Your journey is your journey. Don't force it, right? You got to trust God. And I don't know what
I feel
else.
like a whole different person. I don't know. I feel not a different person, but I do feel like
more mature.
More mature. I feel spiritually more mature. I feel mentally stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this is a time that has really challenged a lot of our mental states, I think it actually shined a light on things that we need to address.
And what's really important and what's not. And I feel like, too, this has prepared me to say, you can save money, save time. Like, I had already kind of pivoted from going to every little event. It was like, remember we talked about quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Was it worth me putting on fresh underwear? But it's now like...
Or any at all.
Exactly. But now it's like, even after the pandemic, it's like, I'm probably going to keep the same energy.
Oh, I'm definitely keeping the same energy because honestly, it shined a light on it's not that serious. It's not important. Like some stuff just doesn't even appeal to me anymore.
Right.
Some places, people, places, and things that don't appeal to me anymore.
Right.
Like it's literally a point where I feel like getting on kind of like the different things we said, mentally, spiritually, all that, relationally. We read a lot of books about relationships and just like friendships and romantic stuff where I can look back and be like, wow, Aries, no, it's time to lift up a standard here and say, you can see now where your value and your worth lies and all these things. And I just don't want to give my energy anywhere that's not going to be adding value.
Fruitful.
Exactly. Or where I can add value. I want to be able to be my best self.
Because
I know the qualities that I have to give.
Exactly.
I want to be able to give that in relationships that are going to grow.
And your fruitfulness you will have abundance where you can say, okay, girl, let me help you out with this. Yes. You can share, and then they will glean and they will have abundance because of you. Yes. So I'm absolutely where you are. It definitely shined a light on what's important. And you kind of look back and was like, man, okay, I enjoyed doing that, but it wasn't worth it wasn't worth my time or my money, but I could save so I could use it to go do this.
Okay, so I've gotten gas since the pandemic started. So March, I had just went and get some gas from the gas station right when the pandemic started, right? I didn't get gas again until probably
like April.
No, it was like the end of May or the first week of June. And then I just went to get gas because I went down south for the first time. So when we were on our way here, I had a full tank of gas. I had just got that gas when I went on my way back home from down there. And I'm like, so I haven't had no toll tags, no gas bill. I mean, like, there's a lot of things I could kind of count to benefit.
I'm going to tell you, I'm drinking more water, face is clearing up, less drama, less stress, not trying to go and be at every event, and just even like going to work. Like,
you got to count up the cost now going to something. You be like, is it worth me getting?
No, seriously.
Like, I don't know.
Seriously.
Too many people.
Yep.
It's
a risk, and then nah. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, it's making you it makes you really look at, is this important enough for me to be a part of this?
Right.
Got to keep that energy up.
And what do it's like, okay, well, what do I really miss? What do I really enjoy? What really matters to me? And it gave me opportunity to kind of look back and say, okay, revisit your core values.
Yes.
Revisit your core values and not just settle for any little attention or, somebody, hey, no. I
hugged somebody the other day and I was like, but I realized I haven't hugged the person.
I need my tea.
I haven't hugged the person in a long time.
Did you get entangled? You didn't get entangled.
I didn't get entangled.
Making sure.
I'm not that risky yet. But just a simple hug.
I know.
The value of a hug has gone up.
The value, okay, I'll tell you this. The value of hugging, but also being selective in who you hug. Because that's an exchange. And I don't want to hug anybody.
No,
especially if you got entanglement energy.
Exactly. You got to be careful.
In the streets.
You got to be careful with them. Just little things like that to where you're like, wow, the value of something when you can't do it goes up, or when you can't have it.
Yep.
And then when you get it, it's like, okay, I have it now. So I want to try to hold on to that feeling. I'm noticing little things now. I got birds and squirrels and all. I got a whole little animal sanctuary in my backyard now.
Creating new habits. Like we went walking. We did a 4-miler, right? You realize, okay,
4.5. Give me my
4.5. Okay, I give you a credit. You realize I don't have to go to happy hour to catch up with her. We can meet up at a park, go get some good water, and go for a walk and catch up.
Exactly. Just getting creative on that, and
it has sparked a lot of creativity too.
Yep, and I have been consuming a lot of content, like podcasts and reading. We've been reading a lot of books together.
I've been napping a lot.
I got one I want you to. We need to read next.
Okay. We definitely have been reading more. Spending more time with our families. Yeah. Like, no, true time. Like, quality. Real presence. Yeah. Like, you may be physically in the house, but you're not present. Like, we're here at the cabin, so I'm like, you know what? I was like, I'm going to go to Walmart. I told Kiara, we ought to do a junior chef competition with the boys, team up, and then had a grandma do the taste test. See, she not doing that.
My kids are not about, they don't know how to do nothing. Junior chef. They ain't chefing nothing. LJ can make a sandwich. And Marvin, he can make better sandwich than LJ, but that's about all.
But see, the creativity, right? They have to be creative. Like, they came to you, it's like, oh, this internet sucks. And you're like, okay, and we're out here in the cabins. Be creative.
Figure something out.
Like, there's kids don't play. Do kids play it anymore, or tag, or whatever it is? Hardly ever.
I don't think so.
But guess what they did?
What they do?
They played tag in it.
Oh, yeah, no, they play hide and go seek.
Right. Kids don't do that these days because they're too busy on Fortnite.
True.
When I was going down to these sticks, we would be outside playing.
They've been in the house about five times since we've been here.
Right. So it is definitely sparking creativity.
Yes.
And just creativity and what can I do in the future that'll build generational wealth.
True. So, yeah, I'm just trying some new things that, as I learn more about life, the world, things that I could have done better as a youngster, I pass that along to Kiara. Mm-hmm. I'm like, girl, at your age, if I would master this thing that I have
and
now,
she's listening.
You going to be, at 40, you going to be.
She's listening. We went on that walk. The next day, she was texting me the information.
Yeah.
I was like, kids listen. If you just take the time, quality time, and so that means sometimes, like, I had to revisit my parenting and the raising my voice, right? I don't have to raise my voice to get my point across. It's when I'm really quiet that she's like, what? Listening in.
Yep.
So
my kids know now. I'll just be like, you guys are making me use my voice too much. They know what that means. It's like a warning. I'll be like, okay, this is the second time I asked, and I'm not in that space where I want to be repeating myself.
Right.
And they'd be like, okay, let me go do it. Like they know, they get the signs now. And we're paying more attention to each other, period, our personalities. And now that I feel like as a parent, I need to know, you got to study your kids and see like what works for this child. Let me take this approach, just like you would do anybody else in your life, right? So for me, it makes my parenting that much more customized,
right?
I would say. So I don't know. That's kind of just where I'm at with it.
I definitely feel like we're in a definitely good place, a better place. I always look at the years like, okay, are you in a better place? Be grateful and be thankful for that.
I'm way better place than I was last year, I believe.
I am too.
Just in so many areas. So I think, what would you say our call to action would be for like kind of our thoughts for this year? Things that we've implemented maybe that could help somebody else.
Be aware. Be present.
Self-aware.
Be self-aware. Be present.
Yes.
Be joyful, grateful, and be faithful. Because you got to have faith in order to get through whatever you're going through.
Yes.
Whether it's good or bad.
And I think that...
what about you?
For me, this has been one of the most consistent things that I've had going.
You know what?
So like
this consistency.
We've done it every week. We took like a Christmas break, I think, or like the holiday, but we were thinking like, oh, we'll do seasons and and I was like, let's just keep it going. We don't need to do that anymore. So for me, consistency I'm a person that is good on quitting. I'm an Aries, so we'll be starting something.
I am too, and I feel like, so kind of going back to that, to add to that, sounds like accountability. Because sometimes you have to have an accountability partner or partners to hold you accountable for a certain goal that you have. Because there have been many times when, like, I'm a Gemini and I could be over here doing this and I start doing that and don't finish it. Sometimes you need that accountability, and that's why I said what God says, we weren't meant to be here to do life alone.
Yes,
right, and
exactly.
That's friendship, relationships. Accountable.
The purposes that God has for your life, you can't do them without relationships, whether it be friendships, romantic partnerships,
entanglements, partnerships
should be purposed. They should have purpose to them, not just to be in something. Right. Like my mom and her mom were in there talking, like, at our age, just women still out here talking about they just want to have a body next to them. They just want a man.
Oh, I think I did hear them while I was napping.
Yeah, right. Like, nobody just want that. That's not enough. And I'm like, I said, because if you age don't have nothing to do with it. I said, the same people who are my age feeling that way going to be 70 feeling that way if they don't ever get to the point where they've healed those wounds and filled those holes with God. Because he's the only, that's what I've learned through this whole thing, is that he is the only one that does not disappoint. He's the only one that is not going to fail you, that you can 100% rely on. And even when someone else drops the ball, then it's okay because he has, he's doing his job. Yes. So you don't have to do that. So
I think that's a great point.
I think for me, that's the biggest takeaway, from this year is just trusting God, staying consistent, because I do feel like this podcast has done a lot for me professionally. Too. I mean, I got coworkers that listen to this podcast. I got people asking me to do certain things because of me being on this podcast. I think to be a person to get on a camera, record yourself, and publish it for anybody to go back and see, you got to have a certain level of boldness.
Yes.
You got to do that. Everybody doesn't do that. Think about the fear. Some people's number one fear is speaking in public.
That's true.
Or speaking in front of a crowd or whatever. That's not my fear.
At all.
Not my problem.
At all.
So I use it to my advantage now. It's like, well, that's a gift that God gave me. I wasn't always like that. I used to be really shy when I was younger. But over the years, just putting myself in uncomfortable situations, it builds growth. You're going to build character. You build so much. Because if I would have just stayed that shy little girl who was like, no, I don't want that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
So, and knowing your gifts. And, I told someone the other day, they noticed something. I'm like, wow, you're very detailed. I'm like, you have very great discernment. I was like, you probably should put that in your resume skills. I was like, you know what? I will. Because attention to detail is good. Everybody doesn't have attention to detail.
True.
So know your gifts.
Yeah, know your gifts for sure.
Which goes back to one of our previous episodes, know thyself.
Know thyself.
And this is the perfect time to.
And I'm taking God out the box. I'm just kind of taking, I want to say calculated risks, but I'm not limiting what I think because I don't know how things can work out. I'm not limiting that they can't. So I'm just saying, okay, God, but I'm going to him first.
Right.
And being like, tell me if this is the right thing. Am I doing the right thing? I don't want to do nothing that ain't the right thing. And if I feel like he's leading me toward it, I just go.
And just do it.
And just see what happens and be like, all right, it might not work out, and that's okay. But I'd rather try than be fearful and live in fear. I'm not living in fear. That's not happening. How I'm going to be a bold black girl living in fear.
Well, we got them bold black mamas in there. We were destined for this.
I know. Exactly.
We were destined for this.
So I think we had a great year.
I do too.
I would say I'm
looking forward to what's next in the next upcoming year.
Yes. I mean, we're already at the end of July. We are
right? It's the 29th.
But I am excited about what's to come. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not even going to try to figure it out. So make sure that you stay tuned with us.
Yes.
Stay tuned with us.
And if there's something you want us to talk about or that you're interested in, let us know.
Yep, we will be here. So All right, I think we'll let you go. We're going to get back into our relaxation mode. We have paint night tonight.
That's right. And we're going to be grilling.
Yes. So we got some more.
And I'm getting the jacuzzi tonight.
Me too. You know, that's my
thing.
Everybody now, LJ's like, oh, I see why you're in the tub for 4 hours now. I'm like, see? And I do it before bed. You saw I was in the bed last night.
Yeah, she can get in this tub and stay for hours.
Kim was up with the kids.
Playing pool. Teaching them how to play pool.
Yeah, they were having fun. I was like, close my door. Good night. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for joining us. We thank everybody that has supported us this far in this year. And more to come.
And don't forget to rate and review us.
Rate, review, share it with friends. And
get you a Bold Black Girl t-shirt.
Yeah, we only have limited supplies left. We're trying to figure out what the next shirt should say. So send us some suggestions to boldblackgirls@gmail.com. And maybe that will be the next thing on our website. All right. We'll see y'all. Have a bold week.
Peace.
See ya.